What if I told you that there's one single word that separates phenomenal success from constant frustration? And what if I told you it's the one thing most of us get completely wrong? It all hinges on a single, kind of counterintuitive principle. That's right. I'm talking about all that meticulous planning. The deep dive research, the endless strategizing that you think is so essential. Well, a lot of the time, it's producing exactly zero results. It feels like work, for sure. But in reality, it's just a very sophisticated form of procrastination. The most successful people on the planet, they use this specific mental trigger to just bypass all that hesitation and jump straight into execution. It's not complicated, but it is incredibly powerful. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly what it is and how to flip that switch for yourself. Think about it like being on a movie set, okay? You've got the actors, the lights, the script, everything is perfectly in place. But the movie doesn't actually start until the director yells one word: action. Everything before that is just preparation. It's necessary, yeah, but it's not the movie. And that is the perfect metaphor for how most of us approach our goals. You can have the most brilliant, world-changing idea, but as long as it just stays in that preparation phase, well, it's worth nothing. You're not actually moving forward, you're just getting ready to move forward. And believe me, those are two completely different universes. But honestly, it gets worse. We have this sneaky little word that we all use to kind of mask our inaction, to give ourselves an out. And that word is try. Just think about it for a second. I'm going to try to start that business, or I'll try to go to the gym. What are we really saying when we use that word? In fact, you know what? Let's do a little experiment right now. It's super simple, but it's going to make this whole idea crystal clear. You ready? Okay, wherever you are, I want you to try to stand up. Don't actually do it, just try. So what happens? You might tense your muscles, right? Maybe shift your weight. You think about standing, but you're still sitting there. See? You can't do it. You can't try to stand up. You either stand or you don't. There's no middle ground. Trying isn't an action. It's that moment of indecision before the action. It's this mental escape hatch that lets us feel productive without ever actually committing to an outcome. And this contrast, this is everything. On one side, you have what the source material calls puddling around. Thinking about it, talking about it, planning it. It feels like you're in the game. But then on the other side, you have doing, taking action, getting results, and actually making progress. So the question is pretty simple. Which side do you want to live on? So how do we get out of this trying trap and make doing our default setting? Well, the secret isn't about just forcing it. It's about this internal process that the source describes, a way to create a mental state where action becomes the totally natural, automatic thing to do. So it all starts with an idea, obviously. But an idea by itself is totally powerless. The real key is step 2. You have to get emotionally involved with it. You have to feel what success is like. And when you internalize that feeling, your entire mindset shifts. The source actually calls this creating a new vibration. And at that point, taking action isn't a struggle anymore. It's just the inevitable next step. And this brings us to the $1,000,000 difference. We're all taught to believe that the genius is in the idea. The brilliant startup concept, the groundbreaking novel. But the real truth is, the idea itself is almost worthless. Ideas are a dime a dozen, but the person who moves into action on them, that person is worth millions. I mean, just think about the phone in your hand or the screen you're watching this on. All of those things started as simple ideas. The value wasn't in that little spark of genius, it was in the relentless action that came after. Execution is absolutely everything. So this brings us back to that mental trigger I mentioned at the very beginning, the one that guarantees results. We've learned it's not about trying, and it's not about just having a great idea. The real secret is so much simpler and way more powerful. The trigger is the word itself, action. But here's the thing, you don't just do it. You make it a constant mental command. All day long, you have to actively ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now just puddling around, or is this direct action toward my goal? That conscious focus, that's the trigger. That is what turns these vague intentions into concrete, real results. So let's make this real. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Don't just think about it. Don't try to do it. Decide. What is the one action, big or small, that you will take in the next 24 hours to move yourself forward? Drop it in the comments below. It's time to stop preparing and start doing.